Hello, hello everyone. How are you? It's the Hands of Anna Walker again. Welcome to the makeshift studio here in Iowa and my wonderful little foldable traveling table here where I have been hot at work continuing to explore this new to me technique. Now, yesterday you saw me lay out and felt this piece of pre-felt, and this is going to be cut into strips and it used as the color focal for a felted collar, maybe two felted descent collars. But today I did that same technique and I tried it out with some Nuno felting. Now, Nuno felting, hi, this is Anna Walker, stepthingsintoexistence.com. I realized I didn't say all of that, so please forgive. It's been kind of a wackadoodle day, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So let me move this off to the side. I created this piece in the collar format itself, and then added these wonderful little cut strips of what used to be a beautiful blouse that I wore for a number of years, but then it got to be not me anymore, but the fabric was amazing. This metallic thread going through it, the beautiful pinks and blacks, and I decided to see how this would Nuno felt with this new technique, and it did an amazing job. This is going to probably be used as is. I'll work a little bit more to see if I can get it to shrink up just a bit more, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to cut it to make a nice design on it. But Nuno felting is just taking some fabric, and I've got a little bit of the fabric poking out here that'll be trimmed off, is taking fabric and laying it out so that the fibers that you use with it, in this case I used black merino fibers, so the fibers, as you're felting, migrate through the fabric, and if you look very, very carefully through one or all of these pieces of fabric, you can see little teeny tiny hairs of the fiber from the black underneath shining through. So Nuno felting is just creating a new fabric out of a piece of fabric and some fiber. So I laid, as I said, this one out in collar shape. This could even be easily turned into something decorative if you wanted to, but it's going to be a descent collar. And after I did the collar shape, sorry, I'm figuring out where things are going to move, then I had this long strip of this fabric, and you can see from the strips just how amazing this fabric is. Now, this is not silk, it is not cotton, it is a type of man-made fabric, but if you can hold the fabric up in front of your hand and gently blow through the fabric, and if you can feel your breath on your hand behind the fabric, then you should be able to work with it in Nuno felting. I have to tell you, this is the easiest way to Nuno felt that I have come across yet. The only other thing that I think might surpass this, and probably would surpass this, is using a palm sander and making sure you've got lots of protection from the water and the electricity, keeping them separate. But this technique worked so freaking well. It surprised me. I was just amazed, speechless, and that doesn't happen to me very often. Ask anyone who knows me really well. So this piece, because I had this long strip, I cut it in half, and then I laid it out with the black merino underneath, and then I used that same technique to gently agitate the fabric, the fibers and the fabric, and I'm going to show you how that happens here in just a second. But this took, let's see, 400, 500 flicks is what this took to Nunofelt these pieces of fabric and to get them to attach to the fabric that we have on the front. Took 500 little flicks, and I'm going to show you what a flick is. This piece will be cut apart into little fingers, and then I will take it. I may see if I can trim this on one end and then curve it on the other side, and then have those spokes coming out, lay it out, and then give it a little extra felting attention. This may turn into 2 felted collars, but it's got some ruching that's happening. I didn't want to have a lot of ruching. Ruching is when the fabric grabs hold, or rather the wool fibers grab hold of the fabric in different places, and they sort of gather it and bunch it in different areas. And if you look at this, sorry, I've got better lights coming, but if you look at this, you can see that lumpy, bumpy texture, and that is ruching, and that's exactly what you want to have happen when you're working with Nunofelt. But let me show you how all 3 of these pieces were created in this technique that I learned from Nadia Szabó, Hungarian felter, that I have had the pleasure of watching classes for Felt Camp the past 2 years. This is just the thinnest painter's tarp you can find. It is about the same thickness as plastic wrap is that you would wrap over leftovers and put in the fridge. And I just have a long piece cut so that I can fold it over, and then on that one piece I put one part of that plastic down, and then I laid out my fibers. We're going to pretend that this piece of pre-felt are the fibers that I laid out. Then after they're wetted down with your soapy water solution, remember, when you're doing your soapy water, especially for Nunofelting, you want it to be cool, not hot, and you want it to be really, really slippery on your fingers. That slippery factor is what helps the fibers open up, changes their pH so that those fibers open up, so that as you're flicking it, those fibers can connect closer and closer and closer together until they form felt. So after you've got it wetted down, and I just press down the soapy water into all of it, then I brought the second piece of the plastic over the top, and I made sure to get rid of all of the air. That is the secret to this technique. There are no air pockets in here, so when these 2 pieces of plastic meet together, you know how plastic is when you get it wet or when it touches itself? It's going to stick, and it's going to stick to all of that soapy water. You can take and you can run, I ran a towel, sort of like a rolling pin. You can take a rolling pin and roll out all of that air. You could take a pool noodle and roll out all of that air so that you've got one continuous piece here, and then it is just a matter of flicking. And that is the motion. It's just a flicking. And what I did on all of these pieces, I did 100 flicks per side, turned it a quarter turn, turn it a quarter turn, turn it a quarter turn, and each of those sides I did 100 flicks, flipped it over, checked out the other side, and then I did 25 flicks per side to finish them up. So 500. And you could probably do the same amount of rolls. I don't know that you would have the same effect, because what happens in this package when you've got these fibers completely encapsulated, vacuum sealed as it were, into the plastic, it is amazing because the fibers have no place to go except toward one another. And that is the genius of this technique that I learned from Nadia Szabó. and that's Szabo, Nadia Szabo. So try this technique. I think you're going to be very, very surprised at just how amazing it works for you. You don't want to do anything big? Well, do a small little test. I've not tried this on alpaca, but I have these amazing alpaca roll-outs that I got ages and ages ago, and I can just take and pull out some wonderful little spokes, as it were, connecting them all right here at the top. And I'm not worried if they're slightly different lengths. I'm just going to go with it. This so that we've got them all in a spot where they'll be able to have that plastic completely cover them. A few more on this side, and then we will take this and give it a try. Like I said, I haven't tried this with the alpaca, but I see no reason why it won't work just fine. Take a few of these and just run them right here along the top, just to have a bit of a connection point between all of them. I'm just doing a little gentle weaving motion here. Okay. So we've got the layout looking good. I think I'm going to put one more here at the end. And let's see if we can't get just one solid line here coming through on top. There, I like that. I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but we're just playing. And then we're taking our soapy water, and we are just wetting everything down. Just pressing that water down. Pull up these little bits from underneath. And go to the top. It's all about a gentle hand. I'm going to take these end pieces. Just make sure they come up here to the top. Just fold them over so that they're not so thin at the ends. Just a little bit more. Right here. my hands. Move my dry rod off over here. And let's bring in the other side of our plastic. And you see that it does a really good job of connecting to the other piece of plastic. And I'm just working that air out, working the fiber all the way through. Okay, now I'm going to just anchor one end and restart the flicking. Getting soapy water. That's okay. That was 100. I'm going to turn it a quarter of a turn, anchor it down, and do another 100. Another 100, turn it a quarter of a turn, anchor it down, get ready to get soapy, and here we go. That's 3 sides done. Let's do this 4th side, and then we're going to open it up. we've done 400, 100 each direction. I'm gonna open this up and we're gonna test our pre-felt here and see where we, oh my gosh. It is felt, see, felt. It is ready for me to rinse and dry and then to figure out how we're going to do the next part of this. But that is how easy and how simple it is to create felt with just some plastic, some soap and water, and your hands. And we are ready to go with another descent collar. I'll have to separate out some of the spokes, but that's not a problem. They'll separate out pretty easily. And then I'll determine whether or not I'm going to add any black to this or whether I'm going to leave this one to be rather open work like this. I'll probably do is cut it off here and here because I like the way these spokes here have all sort of worked together and I can manipulate them a little bit. Might even be here to here because this one's a little narrow at its joining edge. But I think from here to here is going to be our collar. And that's how easy it is. So thank you, Nadia Zabo. And thank you all of you for hanging around here and watching me as I put together this felted collar. I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.